Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Hi, if you're new to my podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And before we get to the show, I wanted to personally invite you to my Balance Challenge. This is a 28-day challenge to learn the art of cycle syncing to balance your hormones. After getting alcohol free, I found cycle syncing, which is supporting the ebb and flow of your hormones with nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle. I found this to be a North Star in my healing as it put me back in touch with my body and brain and allowed me to feel better in my 40s than I ever did in my 30s. As a woman who wants to empower other women to go alcohol free, balance their hormones, and heal years of cellular damage, I created this challenge to share the top strategies I've learned over the last 3 years that have me feeling mentally and physically better than I ever did. At 43, no joke. I wish I had learned this sooner. So if your interest is piqued, share this with a friend and go to findmyselffree.com and sign up for the Balance Challenge together. There is strength in numbers, and who doesn't want to balance their hormones? It's only the single biggest thing impacting your health in your 40s. Oh, and it's only $28 for 28 days. So you have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Share this with a friend, and I can't wait to meet you there. Now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. This is Ellie Young. I'm your host, and this is a really exciting month for me. I'm hosting my first ever Balance Challenge, and I've got an incredible community of women who are working towards balancing their hormones, learning the art of cycle syncing, biohacking, all things healing. And of course, we're doing a little bit of alcohol-free lifestyle. So this goes out to all my cycle syncing ladies for the month. And those who are unfamiliar with that, I hope that you learn a lot in this episode because it's all about why I believe cycle syncing is superior to dieting. So we're going to get into a couple different things here, but the three main points I'm going to make are one, about the mindset, comparing cycle syncing to dieting. It's superior. It's also more effective. And thirdly, the end goal of cycle syncing is superior to the end goal of dieting. So we're going to get into these one by one. I have been thinking about this episode for a long time because I keep finding myself describing cycle syncing as a love language. This is truly how I see it now because I used to think of dieting as a difficult thing, right? It's this process of confronting yourself and saying, I'm not good enough as is. I need to change and I have to diet to get there. So it's already stemming from this place, this mindset that I need to change, that I'm not good enough. And the ideals that we've been conditioned to believe are beautiful, perfect, healthy, are unrealistic, are unreachable, and are unhealthy. So that is why cycle syncing seems like such a breath of fresh air and a return to self, because we are no longer motivated from an energy that costs us so much. Mostly the energy around dieting is that of fear, right? We are motivated by the fear of getting fat, the fear of being unattractive, the fear of getting older, the fear of having wrinkles, the fear of letting ourselves go, right? That motivation, while it can actually fuel us and provide quite a bit of energy, it comes at such a cost to our mental health, because when you're dieting, you're always striving, and when you fail, there's a ton of shame. And the end goal also keeps getting moved out further and further. I'm sure you've all been there before, and you're trying to lose 5 pounds and then you finally lose the 5 pounds. Are you happy? Are you that much happier? Are you actually like looking in the mirror being like, yes, I did it? Yeah, maybe for a fleeting moment. And then you move the gate 5 more pounds down the road and you say, well, now I need to lose another 5. Now I want to fit into this size of jeans. Now I want to fit. And the motivation, again, is trying to go towards this some other ideal that has been set for us, that has been conditioned into us, that is really not designed for most women, right? Our entire lives, we've been pursuing being skinny and being beautiful. And then we're taught to diet to get there. We're taught to see food almost as the enemy, where too much is a problem. And then you have to eat the right kinds of food, right? You want to not eat carbohydrate. You want to not eat bread. You want to not eat pasta. And although I agree that, yes, you don't want to eat those things with cycle syncing as well, it's coming from a different motivation. It's not coming from it's because it's going to make you fat. It's like it's because it's nutritionally not enough for you. It's not going to nourish you. And so we are working towards nourishment in cycle syncing. And that is really where one of the biggest shifts in the mindset happens, is that we're shifting from the idea of a diet. And sometimes it's just semantics here, but it really is important, because when you think of diet, you're thinking about deprivation. You're thinking about restriction, which brings about feelings of, discomfort in your body. Like energetically, it doesn't feel good to imagine being on a diet, right? It's not like, yay, that's fueling me. On the other hand, when we think of cycle syncing, the words that come up are nourishing. We are boosting our hormones with certain foods. We are supporting our hormonal health. We are nourishing ourselves. These words create positive energy in our body, and they're much, much more likely to fuel us in a positive way and sustain us to keep going when we need to keep going, when it gets difficult, right? So a lot of this psychology around the language we use, and the energy that it creates in our body with the certain words comes from my alcohol training. So a lot of times when we're teaching people how to cut alcohol, they get really hung up in this deprivation state, like, oh, I'm missing out. I'm never going to have any fun again. I can't enjoy myself. And they're really, really fixated on what they are giving up. That is what dieting is, right? You are fixating on all the things you can't have. And that energetically leaves you in a very low place. It's hard to sustain your energy to maintain cutting alcohol or dieting when you are attaching so much kind of deprivation mental energy towards, right? But when you think about with alcohol, we coach people to say, think of everything you're gaining, right? You are gaining incredible sleep. You are gaining your health back, your restoration. You are going to reverse age, right? All of that language, when we associate it with what you are moving towards energetically in the future, this health, this wellness, all of a sudden it fuels you in this positive direction. And this is neuroscience. This is a real studied thing that we know when we use different language about our goals, we can motivate ourselves in a positive direction more effectively. So when we're moving towards something desirable versus running away from something that we don't want, it's much, much more effective. So that's why just the mindset alone around cycle syncing that's using words like nourishing, boosting, supporting is so much more healthy for us. And it shifts all of our energy into this positive direction that, like, I'm really taking care of myself. I'm loving myself. That's why I'm calling it a love language, because it truly is about getting in touch with yourself, getting in tune with your body, and giving it what it needs. My husband and I, we like to joke about we're in different vehicles, right? My vehicle is a lot more complicated than the one my husband's driving, right? His has really basic needs. It doesn't need the special gasoline. It doesn't need to go into the shop once a month and take a time out and a break and get worked on, right? We do. And so taking the cycle syncing is really about tapping into energetically, intuitively what your body needs, listening and saying, okay, I'm going to treat you a little bit differently all month long based on what you need. And I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to give you rest, and I'm going to give you breaks, and I'm going to nourish you. And I just love that. I love this idea that I'm really taking care of myself. And it is such a departure from the mentality that I had when I was dieting. Dieting always felt like this marathon of deprivation, right? How long can I sustain eating low carb? And then if I messed up, I was so filled with shame and I would be bloated. And again, all of the motivation was to just try to be skinny, never to be healthy. I'm a lot of these diets are designed to be healthy, right? But that was never really the primary motivation. It was always to be skinny. And, maybe you're like me, or maybe you've always tried to eat to be healthy, but like I was an athlete, and in college, I played college soccer. And even understanding that I needed to fuel my body to perform well, I was still so complicated with my relationship with alcohol. I mean, not alcohol, with food, right? I knew I needed to fuel myself, but then I wasn't fueling myself with the right kinds of food. And I just thought that if I didn't work out enough, if I didn't play hard enough, I was going to get fat all the time. So I was also using exercise as this punitive way to counter my diet. So it was never about being healthy. It was always motivated by these subconscious ideals that I had about what a woman's body should look like, even though I was an athlete. And so I loved my body because it could do certain things. I was very strong. I've always been strong and I've always been fast. But at the same time, I hated my body because it didn't look a certain way. And even being an athlete, I was never like a lean body type athlete. I used to always think that like I was a fraud. Like people heard I was a college soccer player, or that I work out a lot, that I'm like really into fitness, but then I didn't like live up to that expectation when you saw me. And so I always was really conflicted like that. Like these things are really important to me. I have these values of fitness and wellness and health, but I didn't like my body didn't reflect that. So I always struggled with that big time. And that's why this cycle syncing has been just such a healthy love language to myself, being able to show my body that I am more than my body, and my worth isn't in how my body looks. And it's more about nourishing my mental health. And that's really, again, what cycle syncing supports, because it supports you hormonally. And that leads me right into the next point seamlessly, because the second reason that I believe cycle syncing is superior, is that it's actually more effective than other diets out there. One, because it takes into account your hormones. We should not be dieting the same all month long. Our hormones need to be supported differently at different phases. And so paying attention to that and changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, changing the way you exercise is going to support your hormones in a way that they can become optimized. And when our hormones are optimized, all other systems improve because hormones are sitting at like the top of a number of our health systems. They impact everything from your cardiovascular health, your gut health, your bone health, your mental health, your metabolic health, literally every system in your body. It's starting with the hormones. And the hormones at the top of that hierarchy are your cortisol and your insulin. So insulin is going to be affected by your diet, and your cortisol is largely affected by your lifestyle, your exercise, the level of stress you have in your body. Also, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol. That is why alcohol is such an important thing to cut to impact your overall health, because alcohol is hitting the hormones at the top of your hormone hierarchy really hard. It's hitting your cortisol and your insulin. And after that, the cascade of effects it has on your body is just completely detrimental, and it's really, really hard to recover from. So, excuse me, the hormone system, tackling that, having that be the source of our efforts. Like, we are going to balance our hormones. And then from that kind of top down effort, it's going to affect every other health system in a positive way. And again, I want to go back to like, we are adding, the nature of cycle syncing is to add foods that are going to support your hormones in a positive way. So much of this diet is to say, oh, you need to boost progesterone right now. Let's add these seeds. Let's add these carbohydrates instead of, hey, yes, there are things that we are cutting out of our diets, and we're saying, hey, let's not eat inflammatory oils. Let's not eat, processed sugar and refined flours and things like that. Of course, those are important in all diets, but more, we are really focused on adding things. And when you start to add nutritious things to boost your hormones, you incorporate this idea of the crowd out philosophy, where it's like, if you're eating so much nutritious food, you really don't have room left for the bad stuff because there's no room. You're full, right? And I incorporate this a lot. Like, I am a snacker. I crave chips. I crave salty food. I crave popcorn. I'm a snacker, but I know if I have that craving late in my luteal phase and I make myself a batch of sweet potatoes and I satisfy with that craving with that kind of carbohydrate, I feel so much better. And I crowd out the craving for all the other bad stuff. And then it also makes my gut health incredibly healthy, because when you are feeding your gut a variety of healthy foods, it craves other healthy foods. It doesn't crave the sugar, the junk food, the Cheetos, the Doritos. And don't get me wrong, I slip up. I am human. I just got into my son's French fries last night. And but the thing is, I'm aware of it. I'm not going to shame myself for it. I understand what happened and why I got triggered to eat the bad food in the way that I did last night. I definitely like overate to the point where I was like uncomfortable. And I noted earlier in the day that my cortisol had gone up because I had a really stressful morning with my family. I also had something go wrong with in my work. Like, one of my courses wasn't loading properly for people and they couldn't see the videos. And it all happened like really early in the morning. So my cortisol was spiking, and then I had to like get my kids to school, and they were having all sorts of issues, and my husband was traveling, and it was like a really stressful morning. And although I tried to take care of myself later that day, I was aware that I had just raised my cortisol and I did lots of things to manage myself. I was still vulnerable to that spike later in the day. And then when I got my kids home in the afternoon, the issues continued that we had ongoing with my kids. And it made me crave bad food. When your cortisol is spiking, your insulin goes up and it makes you crave bad food. And for me, it's just like drinking was, where it's like I am coping by eating something bad. My body is somehow craving a numbing out or a dopamine boost from that food to just, I mean, I literally feel myself doing it. Like my son was just having a fit about something, and I was just like standing there just like shoveling french fries in my mouth because I was just like, I don't know what to do. I am so annoyed with this kid right now, and we're going through some serious stuff with him. I'll let you guys in on this. My oldest, he just turned 13. He's got ADHD. He has been on medicine since going into 5th grade. This all happened at the height of the pandemic when we figured out he had ADHD, and we went through the stressful process of getting him diagnosed and deciding to medicate him. I gave myself shingles. I stressed so hard over that. And at the time, I had been drinking to cope with the homeschooling, both of my kids, but really it was the suffering and the struggle that was going on with my oldest at the time as we were navigating all of that, that really made my drinking progress to such a point that I was just miserable. I thought I was failing him. It was really like a big factor in my drinking. And it wasn't until I cut out alcohol that I was actually able to take care of myself mentally in order to help him better, to get him the help that he needed, and to be clear on the decisions that had to be made, and to not make it about me and my failures for him, because I was internalizing a lot of it. Like, I'm doing something wrong as a parent. I was trying to homeschool him. It was a disaster. And so, catch up to present day, we had attempted to take him off his medicine for a month. He ended up getting triple the amount of detentions he normally got. He also got suspended. Um, so our little experiment where we were like, gosh, I really want to not medicate him because he's going through puberty and we want him to grow, and the medicine makes him not eat. So we were really, really struggling with all this. And he ate a bunch when he was off the medicine, and he loved it. And we also felt like this little light of who he is, this personality, this powerful personality that he has that is so fun, but it does not fit in the traditional school system. We got to see that light for a month, and it was really awesome. And actually, things got a lot easier around here because we weren't like, take your medicine, and forcing him to eat and doing all sorts of a lot of stress. But he was been getting in so much trouble, and it's innocent trouble. It's so stupid, the things he's getting in trouble for. But now the teachers have his number, and they're just like, nope, giving him detention left and right. So we decided to go to the doctor yesterday and to put him back on the medicine. Anyway, so that's one of the real stressful things that's been going on in my world. And I think it's what led to me overeating French fries last night. So again, this awareness is really just helps me not beat myself up about moments like this. I just go, oh, isn't that interesting? I got stressed. It made me crave bad food, and then I overate and I felt bad. Did the overeating of the food help me manage my stress better? No. It's so similar to alcohol, right? Where I'm like, okay, I thought alcohol would have helped me numb out and tolerate my stress and anxiety, and it only made it worse. That's why there's just so much overlap here with the thought training around giving up alcohol and on the food. Um, but I digress with that story. But my main point here is that cycle syncing is just more effective because it's teaching you how to diet to support your hormones, which is sitting at the top, and it's going to impact every other health system in your body in a positive way. Most importantly, your mental health. So I don't think we are ever going to be able to rid ourselves of these old conditioned beliefs that our worth is in our body and in our beauty, and that, we're only worthy if we're skinny and beautiful. I don't think really we'll ever be able to do enough work to eliminate that. We're always going to care a little bit about our physical appearance, right? But if we can shift it into valuing ourselves because we are mentally strong from the diet that we are consuming, then then our mental health is actually better equipped to handle that inside chatter that is telling us, oh, you're not enough because you're not beautiful. You're not enough because you're not skinny, right? We are more mentally sound to focus on what matters more in this world, right? Our relationships, what matters most is like our longevity, right? Our physical health, our ability to be able to play with our grandkids, to be on all fours and playing with them, right? To be able to move our body with joy as we age, right? Because movement brings about joy. It feels really good. And so that those motivations, I I know these things. I inherently know these things, but keeping that top of mind and not letting the old conditioning of the culture come in saying, you know what, as you get older, if you have gray hair and you have wrinkles, you're not worthy in our culture anymore, right? We're just going to ignore you. You're just going to disappear as women. That's the idea. It's like old women, they just disappear. They're not they're not worth anything to us because they're not beautiful anymore, and then they're getting crazy because of their hormones. So they just kind of dismiss this like these women as we age, right? So that's why this is so important to me, and it starts to feel a little bit like activism, right? Like we are changing the world with cycle syncing by stressing this as a much superior way to dieting, because we are embracing our feminine energy. We are nurturing our feminine energy because it does make us strong, because it does make us powerful. And we have been fed the lie that we have to suffer. I think I've said this before on a different video or podcast, but like when I tried to Google images for my course, for my Balance Challenge course, and I was like Googling perimenopause and menopause, all that comes up is images of women suffering, like holding their head and like looking sad and upset, and like images of like look pills and like words all over that just said depressed, sad, anxious, like how that's awful. How is that the cultural standard for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s is just one of suffering and sadness, and to just be like, well, you got to deal with it. So I'm here to help you change that stereotype, to embrace cycle syncing as a new lifestyle, to actually get back in touch with your body, to love yourself, to use it as a love language, and to kind of fight that old chatter, those old subconscious beliefs that like we are only worthy if we're eating less, if we're depriving our bodies, right? We're not doing that anymore. So the last point I want to make here is the end goal. The end goal of cycle syncing is superior to dieting, because the end goal of cycle syncing is to be holistically healthier. And there's no shame in failing this, because there's only progress. It's always there's always room for improvement because our hormones are fluctuating all month long. We have a new day every day to kind of try again. And because it's constantly fluctuating, we get to be changing it. We're never stuck in one diet style too long where it becomes unsustainable, right? The beginning of the month, you have this 10-day window where you can eat lower carbohydrate, you can try intermittent fasting. And then maybe if that gets like hard and fatiguing, you're like 10 days, whew, that's a long time. Guess what? Day 11 through 15, you can go into a hormone feasting phase where you get to nurture your body with carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates. So the cyclical nature of it is at a pace, one, that our body is naturally going to thrive on, and two, that it's just sustainable. You're good. It's going to feel right because it's what your body needs and it's what your body wants. And so when it's like really in sync, I love that word. In sync really mean you are in harmony, right? You are collaborating now with your hormonal system. You are working together to achieve optimal health. And when you start to feel it, you're going to be like, this is it. There was a reason why I got tired at the end of the month, at the end of my cycle. And I used to shame myself. I used to be like, why can't I work out hard right now? I was craving carbs and I overate chips. This is how my late luteal phase used to go. I naturally was craving bad things. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, I'm going to start my period. I just thought it was that. Oh, I'm going to start my period. That's why I'm craving chocolate. I'm eating. But I would eat the wrong things. I would overeat something bad. And then the next day I would say, oh, now I need to work out really, really hard to burn that off, right? And so I would punish myself with this exercise, but I never felt fueled. I never had the energy. So there was all this shame, like, why can't you work out hard? You overate all that shit. Come on, you need to burn it off. You need to do double the exercise today. And that was completely wrong for my body. In fact, that was raising my cortisol, which was lowering my progesterone, creating estrogen dominance, which was creating weight loss resistance. So it was all backfiring. And I had no awareness of that. So that is literally one of the biggest aha moments for me with cycle syncing was that, yeah, in the 8 days before your period, you are going to naturally have higher glucose because your body's trying to make progesterone and it needs glucose to make progesterone. So it's telling you, please feed me. Please feed me glucose. But no, you shouldn't be eating a bunch of sugar and shitty carbs. You should be eating nature's carbs and you can better fuel that progesterone. And we should be exercising light around this time to keep cortisol low and to nurture your body. Wow. When I finally started doing this, I eliminated my sore boobs before my period. I used to have the most ridiculously sore boobs, kind of like when I was pregnant. I was like, why are my boobs so huge and so sore? I didn't realize that was a symptom that I didn't have to have. And I think I'm on my third or fourth cycle now without sore boobs. And I've been cycle syncing for over a year now, but the main change I made was really finally dialing back my exercise in this late luteal phase. My body still was like, oh, you can still work out. You can still push yourself. But when I finally said, you know what? Let's just go for a walk and let's go for another walk and let's just take it easy and get some sun. And then my body responded in a way that hormonally is all I can say is that it improved. And what's also really, really cool about this is I'm not measuring anything. I haven't done a Dutch test. I haven't done any type of hormonal blood work other than my annual physicals that don't really get into the specifics. I think it measures your thyroid, but it doesn't get into the specifics of your estrogen and your progesterone. So I've done this, and my only measurement of success are symptoms, right? It's did my symptoms improve? And yes, I am not raging out. That was the other one that was really, really bad for me is I used to be so inconsolably dissatisfied is my favorite word. I was just really dissatisfied during a certain phase and I let everybody know it, right? All the things that I could tolerate all month long would come to a head about 6 days before my period. And all of a sudden I was like, I can tolerate no more. I am going to let everybody know just exactly how I feel, who's ever in my path. I felt very righteous about it. I didn't feel irrational. I really just felt like, you know what? I've been keeping this to myself and now you get to have it. Now you get to hear it, right? And nobody wants to act like that. Although I still don't believe I'm wrong about these things. I don't want to treat people the way that I was treating people during that phase, right? It's just not a healthy way to communicate. And I don't like fulfilling the stereotype of an unhinged woman, in her 40s. I want to show emotional flexibility and stability, right? And so awareness, cycle syncing has provided so much awareness that I now can see it coming and go, okay, I know that this is likely a time when I might fly off the handle. So instead, I'm going to really nurture myself right now. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm not going to ask too much of myself. Again, within reason, I know we all have jobs, we all have responsibilities, we all have kids and husbands and relationships that are demanding of us and our time. And often there are things we can't get out of, right? There are things we're just you know what? We still got to do that thing and it's still going to be hard and it's going to be stressful. But being aware, and if you can build in extra self-care around it, or some time alone, or whatever it is, just knowing that like, hey, this is what's going on my body right now. I need to build in some extra nourishment, some extra self-care to counter the stress that I am anticipating, right? So I love cycle syncing. The end goal is about being holistically healthier. There is no shame in failing. You're always improving mentally. There is no unrealistic standard or goal or ideal. Your goal is to have balanced hormones, which is going to lead to a healthier heart. It's going to lead to healthier bones. It's going to lead to better metabolic health. It's going to lead to better gut health. It's going to lead to better mental health. And these are the things that I'm after. Whoever said, like, you know what? I'm dieting for better mental health right now. But ultimately, that's what cycle syncing is. Again, I go back to this like motivation. If you are only motivated to be skinny, when you fail, it's all about shame. I'm not meeting this standard. I'm not meeting this ideal, which is just like a losing battle as we age, right? We're never going to look 25 again. We're just not. And so I'm tired of having that be my goal, right? Yes, we have surrendered a lot of this already in our 40s, but like it still eats at us, right? We are still just letting that old subconscious conditioning of wanting to be something that we're not, right? We have let that guide our diet, the way we nourish ourselves for way too long. And that's why this entire cycle syncing method is about shifting away from that. You are no longer motivated by trying to be skinny. We are motivated by being holistically healthy. And I love that. And it's such a healthier way. It's such a healthier approach that's sustainable. It's something that we can grow old with. It's something that we can teach our daughters. I don't have a daughter, but every little girl in my world that I know, I'm bugging their moms to teach them about cycle syncing and awareness of their cycle. And not that we should dread it, that we should celebrate it because it gives you gifts, it gives you strengths, and we should learn to we should learn to lean into those powers early on, right? And the men in our life. My husband has learned so much about cycle syncing, and he loves to say luteal phase. He says that all the time because I joke to him. I'm like, hey, I'm in my late luteal phase. Like, this is the time you might want to like give me some space, right? And he also, I think, is very hormonally synced right now because he gets to eat all the healthy food that I'm making all the time. And my kids too. The health like spillover into my family from cycle syncing is awesome because I'm not again just depriving myself. I'm not just like avoiding, oh, I can't have that. I'm restricting my calories, counting my calories. It's literally I'm looking to add things, I'm looking to nourish, I am looking to boost. And it's so much more fun to go shopping at a grocery store when you're like, ooh, I remember that that's going to boost my thing. I'm going to eat that tonight. And so it's all about adding things to your life that are going to make you feel great. It's so much healthier. And what better message could you send to the little girls in your life that you're like, hey, I eat to nourish myself, right? I'm choosing foods to boost my hormonal health right now because I'm a woman and my hormones make me powerful. I love that, right? We have these gifts and we need to support those gifts with certain foods. I love this idea. How cool is that, right? So that is my soapbox speech for why cycle syncing is superior to dieting. Um, no longer being motivated by the fear of getting fat. I'm motivated by gratitude for my body. I'm motivated by love for my body. And it's such a healthier way. It's revolutionary. It truly is. That's why I want all women to check it out and to embrace it. And again, maybe when you're inside my balance course, and you've got so much information coming at you, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. And that's why I say just start with one thing. Like if I can cycle sync one thing today, what would that be? And then you slowly start adding things to your rituals, to your habits. And next thing you know, it becomes like second nature. And it happens faster than you think. And that's because you are syncing with what your body naturally wants you to be doing. And that is an amazing moment when you get to that. And it will start to feel so good in your body. So if you're listening to this and you aren't a part of my balance challenge, I encourage you to go to my website, Balance Challenge. It's a 28-day cycle syncing course, and it's only $28 because I didn't want price to be an obstacle at all. And I was really just trying to do a play on words with like $28 for a 28-day cycle. Um, really, that's all I was just trying to do. But this course is really, really cool. It's evolving, it is growing, and it's got an amazing community of women. So we have an app where we talk and we share what days of our cycle we're in and what we're eating and what are the best tips. And I'm in there answering questions in the form of like coaching videos. And then you also get access to this awesome course online that is going to teach you all about your hormones, all about cycle syncing, all about biohacking to heal, and I have a growing library of coaching videos that are answering the common questions that I'm getting throughout the course about people saying, hey, my period's irregular. This is what's going on in my life. How do I do it? Or, oh, I've got bad skin around ovulation. Why is that? What are some of the other ones? Someone was on antibiotics recently and asking like, hey, how do this messed up my period. How do I get it back on track? So I have a whole library of videos in there that you will get access to. So I encourage you to check it out. I would love to have you in there and to get you started loving yourself with the cycle syncing method. Thank you so much for being here today. I am with you. And you got this. Let's go. Hey, you've just listened to an episode of Find Myself Free. And if some part of this left you wanting more, if your curiosity has been piqued and your intuition is telling you, I'm ready for more, then check out my coaching offers at findmyselffree.com. I have the Brave course to help you break free from booze. And I designed this course with the exact lessons that led to my transformation. I also have the Balance Challenge for those ready to learn the art of cycle syncing to balance their hormones. If you're looking for additional support and to take either of these programs to the next level, I also offer one-on-one coaching. Now, I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my alcohol-free journey, and it made all the difference. Being able to talk to someone who knew what I was going through and could help me navigate my new world gave me a foundation of support I could build on. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today. I want to help others find their freedom and level up their health. If this sounds good to you, connect with me at findmyselffree.com and set up a call. Listen to your intuition that is telling you you were meant for more. I am with you. You got this.